It's interesting, yeah, in that I made a comment a couple of days ago actually on LinkedIn. There was a young engineer up in Queensland who was talking about the similar sort of stuff and talking about the community and how important asset management is to the community. And her whole focus was around the community. And I made the comment to her, "This is music to my ears. We've got to do the technical stuff. We need to understand that whole process about the community and the fact that you're doing it to make their life safer, easier, all the rest of it." Um, yeah, it was brilliant. It was very timely because I was getting tired of hearing about the technical and not about what it was actually doing.
Yeah, that's right. Well, asset management is there to support the services or the
Yeah,
product,
yeah, the
right?
product.
So this is with my ISO experience, it's always about services to me, but now you have to bring in, it's either a service, you either provide a service or you generate a product. So
Yeah,
it's services and products.
yeah,
Yeah, so probably another one that jumps to mind in the Northern Victorian Council, where they've been in, and it's happened elsewhere, but where they got into trees. Now, trees are not normally on municipality radar as far as having an asset database, because the standard rule applies. Once you collect all the data, you have to maintain it.
yep,
And you've got street trees, reserve trees, etc. So they actually went through all that, and they had to develop a mobile data collection so that when the arborists are out there and they're chopping limbs off, it's actually recorded at the
yep,
time, straight back onto the database, all GPS linked, etc. And they actually had a branch come down and hit someone, and they were, legal proceedings were instigated. They were able to show that they'd done everything possible within reason
yep,
to prevent that. They dead wooded it and whatever, but a branch fell off. So that investment saved them a lot of money. So it's a bit like footpaths. They're a very small total asset cost as far as the equity.
yeah.
But there's a risk. These are trip hazards, etc. But Victoria's got the road management plan to force councils to monitor all that, but other states don't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
So
agree.
there's lots of examples, Sandy, where good asset management has been applied of benefit to the community, and they should be called out or promoted, I think.
It should.
Because you hear about the negatives, but you
Yeah.
should promote the positives on those sort of things.
They must learn to sell.
Yep.
And it's not an easy thing to do, but like you and I have to sell ourselves, right? It's our job. We won't get work if you don't sell yourself. And it's the same
maybe
deal
that's
with them.
something for our asset management committee, is to encourage organisations to sell their successes in relation to asset management to the community.
To the community. Again, the council. Yeah, again, to the council I was working with, they were doing their road asset management plan, and they've just appointed, as I understand it, they went through the process, appointed community members onto a group. I won't say committee. It's always gives a bad connotation, but into a group who the engineers or the council then goes to and advises them on what they're doing and why they're doing it, and asking questions about things. So they've got that community discussion going, and it's brilliant. On the AI side, just to give you an example, what I did is they have about 5 years of maintenance history, and pretty good maintenance history. They have they had that, and they had 3 years of very heavy rain. And as a result, as you can imagine, drains washed out, roads washed out, all the rest of it, and they're still fixing them. And so I looked at the impact of what it meant, and I put all their data, that they had the good data, through the AI, and piece by piece got down to two graphs. One showed the sealed roads, and the other showed the unsealed roads and the risks involved. And, so they could at least look at a strategy. The fact of the matter was, if you look at those numbers, it was roughly 1 to 2,000 difference in risk. For obviously the unsealed, that was the damage it was causing in the council. So it was a simple example. Now, we presented that sort of thing to the CEO, one of the council members. The council member loved it. They thought it was going to be too complicated, but he loved it because he said, I can picture this. I can see what's going on, and I can see what we need to do next because I can see the growth in the risk as the weather got wetter and wetter and the ground got more and more soaked. And so they can then develop the strategy moving forward. You know,
I think that picking up that point, Sandy, we have to be aware that as technocrats, you have to have the other communication skill aspect. You have to be able to deliver in simple terms to the council and the executive what all this complex data and that means. So you've got your data, you've got your information, your knowledge, and your wisdom.
Yeah.
So to me, you have to have the data to support what you're proposing, but you need to be able to sell that.
Yeah.
And that is a skill. And I don't necessarily profess to have all those skills, but I know I've been called in by CEOs in big metro council to say, look, they've been trying to get this message across. They got it, but they couldn't convince the council, and they give me half an hour. And I say, how did you do it? Well, I don't know, but it's frustrating because when I worked in local government, I found it was hard to sell.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just that it's an external person coming in and putting the message. But if I come back to the asset management education pathway for IPWEA, the fact that you can do all that leadership, communication skill training and that add to all of that is really important. To me, I see it like a tripod. You can have your technical stuff and whatever, but you've got to have that third leg on comms or it doesn't stand up.
That's right.
So simple selling is really important. The elevator speech.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, okay, we've covered every question, what I can see, bits and bobs, but it'll all be sliced up nice. What I will do, we've actually gone overtime, but that's fine. That's more material that goes out as far as I'm concerned. So
probably the only thing I can think of, Sandy, is that something we've mentioned before is about the misconceptions about asset management.
Yes.
And I see that as important. The misconception that if you buy an asset management system, problem solved.
Yeah.
That is, as you would know, that is not the case. And I've got councils at the moment that have just moved asset management systems, and now they not only got a problem with asset management system because they went to a fully integrated, inverted commas, now they can't even get financial reports. So you really have to understand the impact of changing an asset management system, and it's not, out of the box solution does not work. The concept that we'll put in a fully integrated asset management financial system will solve all the problems is not the case. I've been involved in some of those, and it's been a nightmare for people, even though the vendor has promised the world. The misconception that asset management is just done by one person sitting in a back room with a computer. It's a whole of organisation issue. Yep. It's just like they used to pigeonhole risk.
Yeah.
We put on a risk coordinator, risk manager, problem solved. We still deal with that. So we have to keep selling the message that it's an organisational responsibility. The misconception that it's an engineering asset infrastructure department problem, again, whole of organisation.
Yep.
If I go back to examples of where I see asset management being implemented to give good outcomes, if you look at where councils have actually set up a cross-functional organisation asset management steering committee, they're halfway there.
Yeah.
Because they're talking.
Yeah.
So one of the other problems I see is where asset management, there's different corporate models where you can have a centralised, you can have dispersed.
Yep.
The dispersed model I've found to be the most fraught with danger, because if you have the slightest change in asset management, you've got to educate the whole organisation basically about all the technical stuff, how to run the system, how to put in detail, etc.
Yeah.
So the actual organisational model for asset management can be an issue, and one of the big issues is this may not be directly for asset management, but it impacts on the assets, but is badly worded species.
Yeah.
For construction and or asset data collection. You know, I've had a Metropolitan Council in Melbourne, which I have seen you at. They spent a huge amount of money on asset condition assessments on hundreds of buildings.
Yeah.
And then called me in to write a report, and I had 200 and something spreadsheets given to me. So
overkill.
So they went and spent it. I went away, and 6 months later they'd done it all again, and we were able to integrate it and turn it into information and knowledge to make decisions on. So it's a matter of, I've seen so much waste on condition assessments where the IP hasn't been there to specify, or they've just said, yeah, can you come and collect it? Yes, we can, and they do it, and they get 50, 100 hours worth of video and no real information. So again, this is the misconception that this asset management stuff is easy. It is, but you have to understand.
You have to understand it.
What it's for.
Yeah. The biggest thing I've pushed for in local government was developing your data framework. Do that first. Understand what you're going to collect, why you're going to collect it. And then at least you've got a semblance of chance of getting it right. Just going in and saying, I need this, I need that.
Sorry, Sandy. It links back to service planning. So my first role, if the council wants to implement a system, is you go and talk to all the service managers and ask, what do you want to know in relation to assets to run and manage your service? For human services, it'll be different to parks and gardens, it'll be different to the works department compared to whatever. And one of this council that led the state in Victoria was absolutely brilliant. It had done service planning, the councils understood service planning, asset management was there, and they'd employed in the finance department someone that understood asset management and was absolutely red hot on IT. And he, instead of having this fancy thing that doesn't exist, a fully integrated asset, financial, organisational, risk, you name it, customer service model, they had dispersed model, they had various software, best of breed, and he just set up data mining. He pulled data. So every service manager in the morning when they came in had a dashboard, and they had a 9 grid or 6 grid or something on the screen, and they were all graphs or whatever they wanted, be it a pie chart or a graph. And one of them was the asset department themselves were trying to make sure they mapped all of their stormwater. And you could see this gauge that goes around 100%. You could actually see it as they were collecting data. This gauge, it was all live. It was absolutely brilliant. So I got to the point where when I would go there to teach them about asset management, they were teaching me what you could do. And then that just fell over in 1 year. So there's some terrific examples of what you can do with good asset management, and ISO TC 251, the Asset Management Committee in ISO, have a web page, and the communications group, working group 3, once we move into the release of the new series standards mid-24, there'll be a number of potential videos or papers and stuff going on about the benefits of asset management. So we need to probably promote that website once it starts to move in conjunction with the rollout of the new standards.
That's good. That's good. All right. We've gone, as I said, we've gone over time, but that's fine. It just means more videos coming out. So instead of having 5, you'll probably have 7 or 8, which is fine. It's something you can.
I'm glad I could be of assistance. It's I'm doing this because I'm passionate about asset management and have been for, well, it's nearly 35 years. That's a bit scary.
It is, isn't it?
So hopefully my role as the chair of the committee can help lead them and participate with them in assisting IPWA stay right out there. And I know you and Roger were the instigators.
Enjoyed this video? Press the like button and subscribe. If you'd like to see more, please click on the Patreon link below and sign up.